All right, folks, let's move on to our second persuasive presentation of the day with Xavier.
Over half of transgender people experience suicidal thoughts, 55% to be exact. Nearly 30% attempt suicide. Now compare that to the general population. 9% report suicidal ideation, and just under 3% attempt it. According to a research paper published in the World Medical and Health Policy Journal in 2021 by Progovac et al., that means trans people are six times more likely to think about ending their lives and 10 times more likely to try. This isn't just a statistic, it's a crisis. And silence is part of the problem. It's not enough to quietly support trans rights. We need to speak up. My goal today is to persuade college students like you to actively challenge transphobic rhetoric wherever you hear it, online, in the classroom, or among friends. As a transgender person myself, this issue is deeply personal to me. I lived through the harmful effects of transphobia, whether it was overt and aimed directly at me, or subtle and seemingly harmless, but still damaging. I've now been living openly as a man for nearly a decade, and I've built a strong sense of self that helps me weather the negativity I encounter. But when I was at the age of an average college student, hearing transphobic rhetoric could send me into a spiral. I also researched this topic thoroughly and referenced multiple sources because I believe combining lived experience with factual evidence makes the message even stronger. In this speech, I plan to go over the problem of transphobia, the solution of combating transphobic rhetoric, and a picture of what the world might look like when more people actively combat casual transphobia. Let's jump into my first main point. The problem of transphobia. Transphobic rhetoric is everywhere. On social media, in group chats, in classrooms, even in casual conversations between friends. It can be as blatant as hate speech or as subtle as a joke about someone's pronouns. And too often, it goes unchallenged. This silence sends a message that transphobia is acceptable, and that message has consequences. A 2022 report from the Trevor Project found that 93% of transgender and non-binary youth have worried about being denied access to gender-affirming spaces like bathrooms or locker rooms. More than half said they'd considered suicide in the past year, and 1 in 5 had attempted it. Another study published in the Journal of Adolescent Health in 2021 by Escobar Vieira et al. Found that exposure to anti-trans content on social media was associated with significantly increased levels of depression and anxiety among trans youth. This is the reality. Transphobic rhetoric is harming people, especially young people. And when it goes unchallenged, it becomes part of the culture. The need here is clear. If we want to create safer, more inclusive communities, we can't let this rhetoric slide. We need people to speak up. Now let's move on to my second main point. What we as college students can do about it. The good news is that there is a solution, and it doesn't require a massive institution or a nationwide campaign to begin making change. It starts with us, with individuals, especially college students who are willing to speak up. When bystanders intervene against hateful or discriminatory language, it can significantly reduce the harm caused, even prevent it from happening again. According to research from the Southern Poverty Law Center in 2015, bystander intervention can help disrupt hate speech and send a powerful message that the community does not tolerate bigotry. It also provides support to those being targeted, helping them feel seen and less alone. There's also evidence that by challenging bias, especially for peers, can actually change behavior over time. A study published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin in 2006 by Zott et al. Found that when people are called out for making prejudiced remarks, especially by someone they consider a peer, they are more likely to adjust their language and attitudes in the future. That is to say, speaking up works. It lets trans students know they have allies, it discourages further transphobia, and it creates a culture where hate is not tolerated. Not in the classroom, not on social media, not anywhere. Finally, we'll head to my third main point. What the world could look like if combating everyday transphobia was a more regular occurrence. Imagine you're sitting in a group chat with friends or classmates. Someone makes a joke at the expense of trans people, maybe about pronouns or a stereotype. No one says anything. The conversation moves on. Maybe someone laughs. Now imagine there's a trans student in that group chat. Maybe they haven't come out yet. Maybe they have. Either way, that silence tells them they're not safe here, that their identity is something to be mocked, that no one will stand up for them. That's the kind of world we live in when people don't speak up. But now, picture this instead. The same chat, the same cruel joke, but someone says, hey, that's not okay. They don't yell, they don't attack, they just take a stand. And maybe others agree. Maybe it starts a conversation. Now imagine the same trans student seeing that response. Imagine how it feels to be seen, respected, defended. Imagine what it's like to walk into class or scroll through your feed and know that someone has your back. That's the world we create when we speak up. Not a perfect one, but a safer kind of one. And that world starts with you. To conclude, in this speech, I covered the problem of transphobia, the solution of combating transphobia, and a picture of what the world could look like with more people actively combating casual transphobia. You know what's going on in the world. You've seen the headlines. You've heard about the laws being proposed and passed that limit the rights of transgender people. Maybe as college students, we can't change the mind of the current administration. But we can make it clear to the people around us where we stand. We can show our peers, especially our trans peers, that we're on their side. So here's what I'm asking. In the next 7 days, speak up. When you hear something transphobic, say something. Just once. It doesn't have to be confrontational. A simple, that's not okay, can make a bigger impact than you think. And if you don't encounter anything, great. Then share something supportive online. A post, a story, a resource. Let your circle know what you believe in. One small act this week. One clear message. That trans lives matter and trans people are not alone.